Welcome back to Better Than Before. I'm Tony Richards. You know, when a company loses exceptional employees, the loss can be seen in three critical areas. One, impact on the other employees who work there. Two, impact on your bottom line because execution drives your bottom line. And three, impact on your productivity. Got a question for you. Do you do exit interviews with your employees? Do you ask them why they are leaving? Do any of these answers sound familiar to you? It doesn't feel good around here. I don't think anybody would miss me if I were gone. I don't get the support that I need to get my job done. I really don't see any opportunity for advancement for me, or I'm just not being compensated in a way that I think I deserve. You know, it's hard work managing people. In fact, there's very few things that is harder. Therefore, this critical aspect of running a company demands your leadership time. It demands systems that focus on helping employees be productive and demands that expectations are written down so everybody knows what's expected. When you want to try to retain exceptional employees, you have to not just say people are our greatest asset. You have to actually show that you value them. If a company is experiencing a high level of employee turnover, I don't usually think it's okay to dismiss it by thinking that, well, it was inevitable, or the employee wasn't that good, or they all leave at some point. Here's a partial list of why it's in your best interest to retain exceptional talent. Now, not everybody is an A player. Not everybody is an exceptional talent. So what I'm saying applies to those people that you would do well to retain because they are exceptional. Retaining your existing talent eliminates the cost of hiring and training new people. Employee retention makes the company an attractive place for the prospective talent from the outside who's looking in. Retention usually speeds up your operations because employee exits and new people coming on are common work disruptions because they don't usually do a lot on the way out, or they don't know what they're doing when they start. Retaining high-performing employees keeps your company strong and well-managed on the inside. This can help you cope better in difficult times. And also, when an employee leaves the company and joins your competition, there's often a risk of spreading around some confidential information that you don't want shared. And I know that's frustrating. You know, when an employee that you've hired comes to work at your company and then they leave, and then all of a sudden an account that your company cultivated and you paid them to cultivate is now over at your competition, right? It's almost this way. So I'm going to talk to you like an owner, okay? So when you have an employee that steals basically an account from you, or a project from you, it's like hiring somebody to come over and plant trees in your yard, and then they decide to come back and dig up the trees and take them over to their own yard and plant them. You paid them to plant the trees and you paid for the trees, but sometime in the middle of the night they decided to come back to your yard and dig up the plants that you paid for, the trees that you paid for, and the trees that you paid them for, and decide that they're going to have those trees in their yard now. When you put it that way, it sounds kind of dishonest and not very cool, right? Well, that's what happens when you have employee turnover sometimes. You run the risk of people doing those unethical things. And make no mistake about it, it's very unethical and not cool at all, right? In a study by Gallup, a survey of 100,000 people were asked what they wanted from their leaders in their company. Here's what they said. Here were the top 4 answers. Number 1, hope when things look bad. So one of the things you can do to reduce employee turnover is you can assure people, you don't want to pump them full of BS and you don't want to lie to them, but you want to give them hope. Probably your company is taking on some difficult things, or maybe you hit a bad spot in the economy, and all they hear from all their friends and everybody on the street is how bad things are. So they figure, wow, things must be bad at my company too. So I wonder how much longer I'm going to have a job. So one thing you can do as a leader is you can give them hope, not false hope, but real hope. So you have to spend some time transferring that hope that you have and that optimism you have to them, right? Number 2 was compassion. This is where you really need to stay in contact with your employees' reality. You cannot, when you're in the leadership role, you cannot get disconnected from what they are doing on a daily basis. And quite frankly, when we rise through an organization or we get up to another level, we sometimes forget what people on that level still do and what it was like to do that. Sometimes we look back and think of the good old days, when we were doing those things, but sometimes the good old days weren't all that good. We were doing some things that we knew we had to do, but we didn't particularly enjoy them. So staying connected to people's reality and giving them some compassion around their job can be very fruitful and can help you prohibit some employee turnover. Number 3 is stability. If you're unstable, guess what you're going to project? Emotions are contagious. People can catch emotions from you just like they can catch a cold from you. So if you're erratic and unstable and unsure and you're constantly changing your mind and you're constantly making crazy decisions, and one day you're hot and one day you're cold and one day you're left and one day you're right, that's instability and that gets passed on. So you can do a better job being more stable and therefore projecting more stability and transferring more stability to your people. And finally, number 4, and you probably were thinking this would be on the list, but number 4 is trust. Trust is based on the give-get principle. You cannot get something if you, first of all, do not give. You can't go to the bank and get money out of the bank if you have not given the bank any money, right? You cannot make a withdrawal if you haven't made a deposit. Same thing in the trust realm. If you have not invested some trust into your people, how could you ever expect to get any back? It's the give-get. You have to give first and then get back in return. So trust is a big one that's based on the amount that you're willing to invest in people at the appropriate time, at the appropriate level, and in the appropriate way. But those are the top 4, according to Gallup, that make people happy and can reduce possible employee turnover if you as a leader are giving hope, compassion, stability, and trust. And the thing is, there are no quick fixes. None of this stuff happens in a rapid fashion, but you can lose every single one of them in a split second through your words, through your actions, through your behavior. You can lose hope with an employee, you can lose compassion, you can lose stability, and you can lose trust in a matter of seconds. And it's taken you hours and days and weeks and months to build it. Well, that's our show today. I'm Tony Richards, and I want to remind you that everything gets better when you get better.
Thank you for listening to Better Than Before with Tony Richards, a business leaders podcast powered by Clear Vision Development Group. For more resources from Tony, visit clearvisiondevelopment.com. Join us next time for another episode of Better Than Before with Tony Richards.